Greetings, YouTube. It's been a very long time since I've talked to the camera, and I'm a very opinionated man, and today I want to give my opinions on the modern state of metal. Let's do it. If you saw my Brutal Truth long sleeve and assumed I was a metalhead, yeah, no shit. I even got on the Outer Heaven hat because I feel like my hair is looking like season 1 Tony Soprano, and I don't like that much. I think metal became a big part of my life when I went to go see Black Sabbath with my father when they came here in Montreal in 2013, which is really crazy to say because that was 13 years ago. Yikes. Bro really gave himself an existential crisis within like 2 minutes of the video. But I was still very picky about metal. Like, obviously I knew there was going to be screaming, which I was cool with, but anything that had to do in the realm of extreme metal, like, I just toss it out the fucking window. Like, if it wasn't something like Deftones, Tool, Marilyn Manson, or Anthrax, I want nothing to do with it. I especially hated grindcore, which is ironic now, you know. It wasn't until I discovered Death and Agoraphobic Nosebleed, which is not the most accessible band to start with, and also seeing Gorguts in 2015, that I finally start to embrace the more extreme tendencies of metal. I'm talking death metal, black metal, grindcore, which was the first flavor of extreme metal I got into. Brutal death, slam, gore grind, gore noise, like, you name it, I was blasting it on repeat. To the point I remember having Le Toit du Monde by Gorguts as my alarm clock. Fucking awful idea. I can't imagine doing that now. I remember spending hours and hours and hours and hours of just discovering music where I was trying to find the heaviest band or the most experimental band within the subgenre or the subgenre within this big umbrella that we call metal. Nowadays, it's not really like that. I'm kind of just more sticking to the stuff that I already like. Stuff like Dying Fetus, Suffocation, Shining, Necrophagus. I do get bouts of of wanting to discover music again, but it's not at the same rate. The only new band that I actually like really pay attention to is this awesome death metal band called Oxygen Destroyer. Fun little side story. I remember seeing Incantation the last time they were in Montreal recently, and I got to talk to John of Incantation. Super nice guy. And one of the members in Incantation was also playing in Oxygen Destroyer. Sick. Anyways, especially for what's considered mainstream metal, I'm so out of the loop. The last thing I remember being considered mainstream metal was, damn, like, That's the Spirit by Bring Me the Horizon. That's a long time ago. So for like a good few hours, I decided to dedicate my time just going through Spotify or YouTube just to see what the modern metal landscape is like. I don't like it at all, man. With some obvious exceptions, I gotta be honest, I think some of the most boring metal music has come out this decade thus far. And I get it, it's more mainstream. Sometimes it's gonna be a bit softer, a bit poppier. Like, that's not the problem. I'm not expecting this to sound like fucking Molesting the Decapitated by Devourment. But for a genre that's supposed to be the most fierce out of all music genres, I feel like these bands are just playing it too safe, and it's just taking away any edginess. And I promise you, it's not me being a metal elitist, as much as I hate that term. I promise it's not me being that. Trust me, I like bands that are considered normie too, and I'm well aware that no one's first favorite band is gonna be like Beherit or Demolish. And everyone's gotta start somewhere. But I'm just so curious why people only stick to this really bland, boring island instead of furthering their taste by exploring this vast ocean of metal. With all that out of the way, I'd like to bring up my first complaint. This point is going to be on the shorter side, but I still think it plays a major role with my problem with modern metal. And that has to do with the production. I know production encompasses like a big circle of many different elements. Whenever I think of it, I'm always speaking about the sonic textures of it all. Like, how can I describe the tone? Is the mastering too quiet or too loud? What about the mixing? Is everything clear or is everything buried in the mix? And so on and so on. Now, you don't need to be a music engineer to understand the concept that sometimes production really does play into the quality of an album, whether it's with the effects or the tone. It really does sometimes elevate the atmosphere of an album. Besides the obviously very slow and heavy riffs, the suffocating, overbearing production is a big reason why people call Primitive Man's Caustic one of the heaviest albums ever. And I'd say the very lush, calm, and sometimes ethereal elements of Sade's Love Deluxe really allows that beauty to shine through. Now, bad production doesn't automatically equate to a bad album. I mean, the amount of second wave black metal albums I've listened to that have that rusty tin can out fucking production, and I've still had a lot of enjoyment with them. But let's be honest, usually the better the production, the better the album. However, with studios using more digital setups and relying heavy on editing, the music just sounds way more soulless. It just sounds super bland. It doesn't even feel like it's a human playing it. It just sounds like it's actually just a machine playing it, which is a big gripe I have with a lot of 2010s tech death. Like, yeah, your riffs may be cool, but something about it that just sounds kind of boring. That's the most beautiful quality about art, is the human expression and how we could sometimes relate to that. And especially with AI being used in the art world, which, I mean, that's a topic for a different day. I don't even understand that. When it feels like you remove that human quality, I can't connect with it. There's something about it. It doesn't matter what the lyrics are. There's just something about it that just feels synthetic, definitely not authentic. But like I said, production doesn't always affect the enjoyment of an album. I mean, look at Breeding the Spawn by Suffocation. Really muddy, disappointing production, but those riffs are still killer. Side note, have you heard the title track, Breeding the Spawn, with Pierce from Within's production? We were truly fucking robbed. Anyways, like I said, there's also a lot of albums that I like that have bad production. What matters is the songwriting as well. And I feel like these modern metal bands are lacking that too. From what the YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram algorithm has shown me, it's really kind of two branches, where on the very mainstream side, it's more metalcore that's very pop infused. And on the side that's maybe not as mainstream but still fairly popular, it's deathcore. I don't know, maybe I'm just biased because I'm really not a big fan of metalcore or deathcore. Or at least I could say I wasn't. I lived through that insanely huge 2010s metalcore and deathcore boom. I remember the corny crabcore stances, the swoopy hair, the neon monster shirts, and don't even get me started on all the copycat bands that came out. To this day with my friends, we still talk about how that era was just insufferable. It actually wasn't until 2017 when I saw Converge open for Neurosis, where, by the way, that show, from the first song, I was a fan of them. When I realized, oh, metalcore doesn't only sound like that crabcore shit. It's actually, and then I actually looked at it and I was like, oh, it's a mixture between metal and hardcore. And it really broadened my horizons of what it could actually be. There's so many metalcore bands that I'm a really big fan of. Obviously, a lot of more old school stuff, and actually a lot of mathcore stuff, because I'm already a big fan of tech death, so that technical aspect of mathcore really blows me away sometimes. And though still to this day I'm not a huge deathcore guy, I still have my little roster of deathcore bands that I really do fuck with. I've noticed though for a lot of mainstream metal, it tends to sacrifice the songwriting to give more spotlight to the vocals. Honest to God, I feel like sometimes it's 70% emphasis on the vocals and then 30% thought on the songwriting. Looking back at what's considered mainstream metal in the 80s and 90s, we can't deny that stuff was a hell of a lot more memorable. Whereas I feel like they really nailed down the equation of what makes a memorable metal song. Powerful vocals, perhaps not the best in the world, but at least it has catchy vocal melodies, plus really memorable, fun riffs, equates to a way more memorable song. Like, you cannot tell me The Trooper by Iron Maiden, or I'm Broken by Pantera, or Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne, or Painkiller by Judas Priest aren't songs that stick in your mind. Nowadays, I feel like they added a lot of pop elements, and there's no problem with good singing. Like, I love a good vocals, and I feel like a lot of the bands nowadays, they really do nail on that. However, those riffs are so forgettable, man. Honest to God, I don't think there was more than 5 modern metal songs that came out this decade that I can actually hum you out the riff. The band that perfectly describes that quality has to be Sleep Token. I remember I forced myself to listen to a Sleep Token album because I heard the snippets on Instagram and I was like, oh, this sucks. But I like to give things a chance. And I actually like to give these things the benefit of the doubt. What I was left with was one of the most miserable album experiences I've forced myself through in a long time. Besides some very, and I mean very okay vocals, I think there might have been maximum 2 memorable riffs. Like, this album just felt like a whole slog to get through. That left such a sour taste in my mouth. You think I'm going to force myself to listen to their other shit? That lack of strong songwriting really bleeds into how these songs are structured. Like, it's going to be verse, chorus, breakdown, and then chorus. First song I could think of that follows that structure to a T is Masterpiece by Motionless in White. I actually really do like the song. I really do think that the anthemic moments in the chorus really do work well, and I really do like the lyrics. But that song, along with a lot of that modern metal, it's like you almost know exactly where the breakdown's gonna be. Side note, when as a society did we accept that breakdowns were cooler than solos? Like, I might have missed the memo, but when did we agree on that? I get it. I really do. It's mainstream metal. It's going to be friendlier to help bring people into the genre. I'm not expecting every one of these songs to have, a Dream Theater-esque song structure or like Suffocation-esque riffs. As I stated, for a genre that's supposed to be bold, exciting, and edgy, these bands are lacking it. Do I have faith in the future of modern metal? Fuck no, I'm a hater at heart. Long live the underground scene. Honest to God, guys, some of the most exciting albums are the ones you've never heard of. The ones that are not afraid to experiment, not afraid to get nasty, and not afraid to push boundaries. Support your local scene, support the underground music scene. And I'm Justin Aquino. Leave a like, comment, or subscribe if you want. And I hope you have a good day.